All right, y'all, we're here. So I just recorded the Philadelphia 76ers video that y'all saw yesterday. So now we're going to hear that. Let's talk about the Phoenix Suns and their best realistic outcome for the 24-25 NBA season. Now, considering the fact that I said that pretty much all of these teams are teams that I think their ceiling is at the very minimum a conference finals appearance, some of you are probably surprised to see teams like the Lakers and the Suns here. But this might sound delusional, and maybe it is delusional, maybe I'm just coping, but I cannot say when Kevin Durant and LeBron James have a team where they have a second star like AD or like Devin Booker that they don't at least have a chance to make it there. Now, sure, there are teams in their conference because they're in the same conference. There are teams in their conference that are better, that I would arguably say are much better. But when you have that experience and when you've done it before, Kevin Durant done it less than LeBron James has. But don't forget, he's been to the conference finals without Steph. Now he hasn't been to the finals without Steph. He's never won a ring without Steph, but he's never won a conference finals without Steph. But he's done it without Steph. He did it. Remember, they blew a 3-1 in 2016 in the conference finals to Steph. The 73-9 Warriors. Yeah, KD blew that. So he's been there without Steph. Now that's not pretending like he's won anything without him, but like he's such a great player that I can't wrap my mind around being able, when his team is actually decent as well, I can't wrap my mind around being able to say, yeah, there's not at least a realistic chance that he can make it to the conference finals, because there is. I don't think it's going to happen. And I would say they're probably like the sixth most realistic team I could see being there. But it's Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. It could happen. Devin Booker's been to the finals. It could very well happen. Maybe I'm coping. Maybe I'm delusional. I don't know. Y'all tell me. Y'all let me know, because I'm talking myself out of it a little more right now. But Phoenix is one of those teams that's just like Philly. It's even more so than Philly. There's a very broad spectrum from where they can finish at this season. They could either be a play-in team that loses in the first round, or they could be a top, maybe like a 5 seed that just makes a run to the conference finals because of matchups and stuff like that, or because they finally figure things out with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and Mike Budenholzer figures out this defense. But we'll talk about all that in a minute. Phoenix is one of those teams that's in a very, very tough spot financially with the new CBA and the second apron and all that. The fact that they have basically 3 Supermax players is not helping them at all. But even with all that, I actually like their offseason moves. Like, I think this Phoenix team is better than the Phoenix team that they had at the beginning of last year. Like, not by much, because there's only so much you can really do when you're a second apron team. But I think it's slightly better. The biggest move was obviously hiring former Bucks championship head coach Mike Budenholzer. I'm a fan of this hire. I kind of think Frank Vogel was let go a little too soon, but I mean, when Coach Bud's not going to be on the market forever, so I'm not mad at it. But he's known for being a defensive guy, and this team needs to figure some things out on that side of the ball, especially when your top 3 guys that are all Supermax players are mostly offensive players. Now, we just saw Devin Booker go out there in the Olympics and clamp up, but the difference is in the Olympics, you don't need him to go out there and score 25, 27 points a night, whereas in Phoenix, you might need that because Bradley Beal's not going to go out there and be the 30-point per game version of himself that he was in like 2019, 2020. So, but, I think Coach Bud can help them. I think Coach Bud can definitely get them to, not get them, but could help them figure out some things defensively. Now, do I think they're going to be a top 5, top 10 defense? No, but, I think it's possible that they could be not bottom half. I think that's something that they would need, and that's one of those things that you need if you're going to make a deep playoff run. You also kind of need to be not the worst fourth quarter team in the playoffs, or, not the worst fourth quarter team during the season coming into the playoffs. That was them last year. They were one of the worst fourth quarter teams ever. When you have closers like Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, maybe you shouldn't be that. Maybe that should be something that Coach Bud can also figure out, because I don't know. Maybe you can get Bradley Beal to not be a 30-point per game version of himself, but can you get him to give you 18 to 20 on efficient shooting while also maybe playing some defense? Can you get that? Because that's a St. Louis boy, too. Him and Jason Tatum went to the same high school. That high school was right down the street from my high school, literally down the streit. So I'm a fan of both of those boys, bro. So it's I want to see them succeed. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? Some of y'all are thinking Bradley Beal sucks, blah, blah, blah. But I have hope for him, because maybe I'm delusional, but that's the St. Louis homie. I don't know him, but that's the St. Louis homie, so I got to have respect for him. He has his own AAU team here. Their biggest free agency signing for Phoenix, very easily Tyus Jones. Add some actual true point guard minutes to this rotation that had mostly Devin Booker playing point guard last year. I don't know what the starting lineup is going to be. It's probably still going to be D-Book point guard, but that Tyus Jones coming off the bench is going to be one of those where it's hey, maybe Tyus Jones comes in for Bradley Beal off the bench, and then you can run Book in more of his true position of a shooting guard, and then you can have Tyus Jones running your actual point guard. I think that would be huge. And the fact that they have him playing on a minimum contract when he's a guy that deserves far more than the minimum contract. Like, he bet on himself. He said, you know what, I'm going to sign this 1 year minimum or whatever, and then next year there's going to be more teams with more money, so maybe he'll get more money next year. I think that's kind of what his mentality was, what his game plan was. But it's huge the fact that they have him playing on a minimum contract, again, because they're a second apron team. They need that. They need guys that are going to play very well, that are going to produce on a minimum contract or on smaller contracts. Rest of the team is pretty much the same. They added Monte Morris and Mason Plumlee, who were good rotational pieces as well, better than what they had last year. Maybe they can get some real minutes on a bowl, but at this point of his career, I'm not hoping for it, because it's like he's been in the league for long enough now to where if he was going to be that, he could have been that already, especially with the team last year that didn't have a lot of depth. If he was going to be that, he could have been that, and he was still getting DNP coaches' decisions, which that's tough. But if we're being real, this is a team that's extremely top-heavy with Book and KD. After those two guys, things fall off considerably. I'm sorry, Bradley Beal, but my bias for you, I can't just sit here and lie. Sure, the best case scenario for me is a conference finals contender. The best case scenario for me is like, I'm gonna say the best case scenario for me is them like losing in like a tough second round series. Like, I'm talking about maybe you lose in 7 to Minnesota or Dallas or Denver. I would consider that a successful season for Phoenix. Now, I know Phoenix fans probably wouldn't, but like just an improvement from last year, something I would consider a pretty successful season for Phoenix, because you have these guys on a contract for some time, and it's like maybe you have a little bit more time to figure things out. And I kind of maybe try to work some ways around this new CBA and everything like that as it continues to be a thing for longer. Maybe you'll figure out some loopholes or something. I don't know. But also at the same time, it's like when you acquired Kevin Durant, obviously you were thinking championship or bust. So, like, it's kind of blasphemous to say that anything less than a championship or at least a finals appearance is a successful season for Phoenix, but I'm going to say this is like, that would be a season that I think Phoenix Suns fans would be not mad about. Like, this season, the Phoenix Suns fans were actually mad about the season, because you went in there as, the 6th seed versus Minnesota, and then you get swept in the first round versus a young Anthony Edwards, who's out there against his childhood mentor and everything like that, his favorite player of all time, out there just hooping on y'all, thrust in the air and everything like that. But, yeah, like I said, realistically, very well they could make a conference finals appearance. But I don't see that happening, because Kevin Durant has struggled in the playoffs since leaving Steph Curry. He's been swept, 2 of the last 3 years, 2 of the last 4 years, something like that. 2 of the last 3, because last year and then the year before that he lost the second round to Denver, and then the year before that was when the Warriors won the championship and he got swept to Boston in the first round. So yeah, he's been swept 2 out of the last 3 times he's been in the playoffs. In the first round, that's not great. And I'm not hating, because you just played very well in the Olympics. You just were a very, very big piece. You were probably the 3rd biggest piece that why we won in the Olympics. But I got to be realistic, and I got to keep it real. I got to keep it a buck at all times. Speaking of the Bucks, that's the video you're going to see next, which for you will be Wednesday. Phoenix is a team that I chose to give its own video, simply because of the fact that it has such a wide range of realistic outcomes for this next season that I didn't want to put them in a tier list video where I'm going to be talking about them for 10 minutes and the other teams are going to get no talking time at all, because they're just not on the same, they're not as interesting as Phoenix is going into this season. Then it would kind of seem like I'm glazing Phoenix, but it's like I didn't want to do that, so I just gave them their own video. But yeah, like, it's just, Phoenix is one of those teams where it's so interesting, you know what I'm saying, where it's like I can't really pinpoint where it's going to go either way. I have a way that I'm leaning, the way that most of the NBA is probably leaning, but just because you have this much top-end talent, I can't fully count you out, even if they haven't been impressive as a team yet, even if they haven't been impressive as a unit yet, especially not with that defense, and even with the fourth quarter offense and just fourth quarter in general, they just haven't been impressive. So I would say that the best realistic case for Phoenix is losing in a dogfight to one of those top teams in the second round, like OKC, Denver, Minnesota, Dallas. If you lose to the Lakers in the second round, I'd be a little upset, because I feel like you're a better team. Well, not a better team, but I feel like you have KD and Book at this point are probably that's a really close, actually, because Anthony Davis is the 3rd best center, and I think Devin Booker is the 1st or 2nd best shooting guard. So it's like it's a really close thing between the duos, but it's like that if you lose to LeBron James, that's always respectable. That's always, like, I can always respect that. I'm not going to be mad at you, especially when he has Anthony Davis. That's respectable. But like, I don't know. It's like at the same time, You could also disappoint and sell me again, so I have no idea. Like, if you can just keep KD healthy, if you can not get swept in the first round this year, if you can find a way to maybe get off that Bradley Beal contract or get him to play better, I think that's a successful season. If you're Phoenix and you just kind of accept that trio's not going to work, but if you can still keep the duo together and healthy and play a little better this year, then you have hope. Because after getting swept in the first round, I can't say that you're a true contender. No matter how much people may want them to be, no matter how much I may want this team to be, because it's like all the NBA is just better when guys like Steph, LeBron, and KD are just in the playoffs hooping. I think we saw that last year with the playoff ratings and stuff like that, but I can't give them that true contender mark yet just because I have no reason to. They haven't done anything to make me think that they got swept in the first round by a young Minnesota team that just got better. Like, I don't know. But I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching. You'll see the Bucks video tomorrow. All right? All right.